Have you ever had an endometrial biopsy? Or are you about to have one? When I was first going to have my first one, I've had two, um, I was nervous. And of course, I decided to do some research and see um, what I could expect. So I'll be honest, after looking through, Reddit and YouTube videos, I was scared. I knew enough to know that every body is different, so it's not going to be the same for everyone, but I had no idea where in that spectrum that I was going to end up. So, um, I did see that, it ran the gamut from, oh, it wasn't so bad, but most of the ones that I saw were, it was terrible. I was screaming, I was crying, it was unbearable. And then also kind of, there were a good amount of people being shamed or like dismissed by the clinician. So, no idea what to expect. I don't think I had been to this office more than a couple times. Um, so the good and the bad. The bad is that they did not prepare me. They did not say anything like, oh, this might be uncomfortable. Like some people's doctors told them, that they could take an over-the-counter pain medication before the procedure. Nobody told me anything, but my plan was, because of the research that I had done, to, take some ibuprofen or acetaminophen beforehand, because I was nervous that it was going to hurt a lot. So then, long story short, I don't remember what happened. I think I overslept. Traffic, I don't remember. But anyway, so I never even took anything. And I arrived. And again, no one ever said, hey, this could be really uncomfortable. So when you get in the room, it's kind of set up like if you're going to have a PAP, like similar kind of thing. You got to scoot down to the end of the table and do the stirrups, the whole thing. Now, I will say this is just my experience. Like I said, every body is different. So I'm just hoping that seeing this maybe might make people feel a little more prepared or a little less scared, maybe, hopefully. Because I'll talk about the first biopsy first. The first biopsy, she, kind of said, I'm going to do this now, I'm going to do that now, you might feel pressure, that type of thing. But the actual part where like she's actually trying to get the sample for the biopsy, I barely felt anything. Like not even really pressure. At the most where she was trying to get, she ended up having to go in twice because she couldn't really get a sample. But the most I felt was like a very mild, like beginning of like a menstrual cramp. And afterwards there was maybe one tiny little spot of blood. And that was it. So that was the first one, and I was so relieved. But I had kind of worked myself up, so I still had to come down a little bit after the appointment because I had been so stressed about it. The second one was just recently, and again, the whole thing. And so this time I wasn't even planning to take any pain medication beforehand, because the first one was honestly a piece of cake. I mean, would I choose to do that on any given date? No, like not my favorite thing to do, but like totally doable. So the second time I went, and that first time, but here's the thing. So I don't think my experience is the norm because of the way that she reacted to my non-reaction. I remember her saying, wow, you have a really high pain tolerance. So if she was shocked that I wasn't extremely uncomfortable and enough to say that I have a really high pain tolerance, we should have a little warning before that. We should have some sort of way to address that in order to prepare you, first of all, A, and B, to be offered some sort of, you know, something to address that pain. Not to mention the trauma if it's something that's very painful to somebody, you know. So second time, went in, didn't take anything, and it was the first time she went in was pretty similar to the first biopsy I had, as far as, you know, very, very mild, almost like a very mild menstrual cramp while she was actually physically trying to get that sample. But she also had a hard time getting a sample, so she had to go back in. And the second time, I think she was a little more aggressive, and that got a little more intense, like your menstrual cramps at like I wouldn't even say at the worst, but at like where it's getting to be kind of like, okay, I need to take some ibuprofen. Like this is the peak of like kind of a bad menstrual cramp. But like it lasted maybe 15 seconds, something like that. So that part of it, you know, again, and I did tell her, I was like, yeah, now it's getting a little more intense. And she's like, yeah, but you're still like tolerating it really well. And then this was a totally different doctor. She's like, you have a really high pain tolerance. So, I mean, I'm hoping this makes some people feel better, as far as, you know, you don't know where you're going to be on that spectrum, but it is possible to have these procedures without pain medication and tolerate them okay. However, based on the reactions of the 2 doctors that have performed those 2 endometrial biopsies on me, I feel like I'm not the norm. So with that being said, just because you don't know where you're going to be on that spectrum, I would highly recommend asking your doctor if you can take some over-the-counter pain medication beforehand. Be proactive, because apparently this is, even though they do this every day, and even though obviously they expect people to be really uncomfortable, they don't prepare you. And I shouldn't say that. The 2 doctors that I have dealt with did not prepare me. However, I have heard other people say that they were told that they could take some over-the-counter pain medicine beforehand. I don't know if it's because they asked, or if it's just something that they do as a practice, just as a matter of course, which I think is what should be done. Yeah, just look up what the kind of pain medication that men get when they get any kind of like vasectomy or work down there. So anyway, that was my experience. And if you have different experiences, or the same, or anything to add, please go ahead and comment if you see this video. Thank you.